Respect doesn't disappear all at once. It leaks, drops in small moments, quietly, subtly, and you never notice when it happens. You walk away from a conversation feeling slightly less than before, a little smaller, a little less heard, and you can't pinpoint why, because nothing dramatic occurred. No fight, no confrontation, no obvious insult, just a slow, invisible bleed. By the time you feel the loss, the pattern has already been running for months. You think people lose respect after something big, public mistake, a failed project, an embarrassing moment. That's not how it works. That's the Hollywood version. In reality, respect is eroded in microbehaviors, repeated so consistently that they become the background music of your social identity. Think about it this way. You can fail spectacularly and gain respect if you handle it well. Think of leaders who own their failures publicly. Think of athletes who lose with grace. And you can be perfectly competent and lose respect daily, through small, unconscious signals that tell people you don't even believe in yourself. The failure isn't the problem. The pattern is the problem. There isn't one moment you lose respect. There are types of moments, categories of behavior, recurring patterns that signal to everyone around you. This person does not need to be taken seriously. And the tragedy is you're the last one to know. Because these behaviors feel natural. They feel polite. They feel like you're being considerate or careful or kind. But the world doesn't reward intention. It rewards signal. Let me show you what I mean. The moment you explain too much, you lose a little respect. Not because explanation is bad. Context is valuable. Clarity is respected. But over-explanation is different. Over-explanation is anxiety dressed up as thoroughness. It's the need to prove you're right before anyone even questioned you. Here's the psychological truth. When you over-explain, you signal that you expect to be doubted. You're pre-defending yourself against an attack that hasn't come. And in doing so, you invite the attack. Watch how high-status communicators speak. They state their position. They pause. They let it land. They don't circle back. They don't add 5 caveats. They don't rephrase the same point 3 different ways. Why? Because they've already decided their position is valid. They don't need you to confirm it. When you over-explain, you're not being thorough, you're seeking reassurance. And seeking reassurance is a status-lowering behavior. The more you justify, the more it looks like you don't believe your own position. The rule: state it once. Let it breathe. Silence after a strong statement is powerful. Don't kill it with clutter. The moment you react instantly, you lose control. There's a reason the most powerful people in any room are usually the quietest. Not because they have nothing to say, because they've learned that speed undermines authority. When you react immediately to any stimulus, a criticism, a provocation, a question, you reveal something dangerous. You are not the master of your own mind. Quick reactions feel emotional. They feel unfiltered. And unfiltered feels unsafe. People trust what looks controlled, not what looks impulsive. Think about it in negotiation terms. The person who needs an answer now has less power than the person who can wait. The person who fills every silence has less power than the person who can let silence sit. The person who responds to every attack has less power than the person who chooses which battles deserve their energy. The key distinction: responding versus reacting. Reacting is automatic. It's limbic. It's the part of you that wants to defend, explain, justify, or attack immediately. Responding is deliberate. It's prefrontal. It's the part of you that assesses, chooses, and then acts. Every time you react instead of respond, you hand over a piece of your authority. The rule: build a pause into every interaction. Even half a second changes everything. That pause says, I am in control here. Not you. Not the situation. Me. The moment you look for approval, people feel it. You think you're being subtle. A slight change in tone at the end of a sentence, turning a statement into a question. A quick glance to check someone's reaction after you speak. Laughing a little too quickly at a joke that wasn't that funny. But people feel it. Humans are exquisitely tuned to detect neediness. It's an evolutionary survival mechanism. In tribal times, a needy individual was a liability. They required resources without contributing proportionally. That ancient circuitry is still running. And it activates the moment you signal, I need you to validate me. Here's the counterintuitive truth. People value those who seem to need them least. Not because people are cruel. Because high-value individuals are self-contained. They have their own center of gravity. They don't orbit others, others orbit them. When you seek approval, you become the orbiter. You lose your gravitational pull. Every subtle check for validation, every "is that okay?" tacked onto the end of a statement, every hopeful glance after sharing an opinion, every adjustment of your behavior to get a positive reaction, tells the other person, you are the judge. I am the supplicant. And once they feel they're judging you, they stop valuing you the same way. The rule: state your position. Let people react however they react. Their approval is not required for your confidence to remain intact. The moment you give too much, your value drops. This one hurt because it feels noble. Generosity is a virtue, right? Yes, strategic generosity. But there's a difference between giving and overgiving. Overgiving is giving before you're asked. Giving more than is proportionate. Giving when the other person hasn't invested anything themselves. And here's the principle behind it. Value is inversely related to availability. The more available you make something, the less it's worth. This is basic economics. Water is essential for life, but it's cheap because it's abundant. Diamonds are useless for survival, but they're expensive because they're scarce. Your time, your attention, your energy, your advice, your emotional investment. The moment you make these unlimited, available on demand, without reciprocity, without boundaries, their perceived value drops to zero. This is why the person who always says yes eventually stops being appreciated. This is why the friend who's always available gets taken for granted. This is why the professional who gives away their expertise for free is never valued as an expert. People don't protect what feels unlimited. They protect what feels earned. The rule: let there be friction. Let people wait sometimes. Let them invest before you give. Scarcity creates value. Unlimited access destroys it. Let me show you how this plays out in a real interaction. Watch the chain reaction. You're in a conversation with someone you want to impress. Moment 1, you speak too much. You fill every gap. You don't let silence exist. Moment 2, you react too fast. They make a slight comment and you jump to defend yourself before they even attacked. Moment 3, you over-explain your position. You add 3 justifications when 1 would have been enough. Moment 4, you check for their reaction. A quick glance. A slight pause waiting for their nod. Moment 5, you adjust. You soften your stance because you sensed they disagreed slightly. Nothing dramatic happened. No one called you out. No one insulted you. But something shifted. In the space of 3 minutes, you sent 5 signals that said, I need you to approve of me. I'm not solid in my own position. Your judgment matters more than my self-trust. And the other person, consciously or unconsciously, received those signals. Now they interrupt you more. They listen less. They take you less seriously. And you walk away thinking nothing changed. But everything did. Because you just taught them how to treat you. This is the biggest one. The master pattern. The moment that collapses everything. Breaking your own frame. What is a frame? It's your internal structure. Your position. Your standards. Your sense of what is acceptable and what is not. When you abandon your own position just to keep someone comfortable, when you say what they want to hear instead of what you believe, when you adjust your stance to avoid tension, you tell them one thing: my standards are flexible. And flexible standards don't command respect. This is the moment of truth in every relationship. Personal, professional, romantic. Will you hold your position when it's uncomfortable? Or will you fold? The answer to that question determines how much respect you keep. Here's what most people don't understand. People don't actually want you to agree with them all the time. They want to know who you are. And you can only show them who you are when you're willing to disagree. A person with no edges has nothing to hold on to. A person who agrees with everyone has no identity. A person who bends every time there's pressure is not trustworthy, because no one knows where they'll stand tomorrow. The rule: hold your frame. Not aggressively, not defiantly, but quietly and completely. When you feel the urge to abandon your position to make someone comfortable, stop, breathe, and hold. Here's the uncomfortable truth you need to sit with. People don't randomly disrespect you. They respond to the signals you repeat every day. This is hard to hear because it means taking responsibility. It's easier to believe that others are unfair, or that the world doesn't recognize your value, or that people are just disrespectful by nature. But that's avoidance. The evidence is in your patterns. Look at your relationships. Look at how people treat you across different contexts. Is there a pattern? Do you notice the same dynamics repeating? If people consistently interrupt you, look at how you pause. If people consistently dismiss your opinions, look at how you present them. If people consistently take you for granted, look at how much you give without requiring anything back. Not because you're to blame for others' behavior, but because you are the only variable you can control. And here's where it gets tricky. Once those signals are set, once you've established a pattern in a relationship or environment, they become your identity in that space. People now expect you to over-explain. They expect you to react quickly. They expect you to seek approval. Your patterns have become part of the social architecture. That's why changing perception feels so hard. Because people aren't reacting to one moment, they're reacting to months or years of accumulated evidence. You can't undo a pattern in one conversation, but you can start the process today. Start controlling the small moments. 1. Pause before responding. Not just when you're angry all the time. Build a deliberate gap between stimulus and response. That gap is your freedom. 2. Don't explain more than necessary. State your position. Trust it. Let silence do the work of making it land. 3. Don't rush to fill silence. Silence is not awkward, it's powerful. The person who breaks silence first loses leverage. 4. Don't adjust yourself just to be accepted. Hold your position even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. 5. Give proportionally. Match investment. Let scarcity protect your value. 6. Stop checking for approval. Say what you mean. Let others react however they will. Because respect isn't lost in one big mistake. It's lost in the small moments you think don't matter. The extra sentence. The rushed response. The desperate glance for validation. The boundary you didn't hold. Those moments compound. And one day you wake up wondering why people don't treat you the way you deserve. You already know the answer. You taught them. Most people never see when they lose respect. They only feel the result. The subtle distance. The lack of weight their words carry. The way they're treated as optional. But once you see the moments, once you can spot them in real time, something shifts. You stop losing respect. And you start controlling how people see you. Not through manipulation. Through presence. Through holding your frame. Through understanding that respect is not demanded, it's signal. And you are signaling every single moment. The question is, what are you telling them?